We are grateful and thankful to Venerable Dhammavuddho for his Dhamma talk this evening, which is very heavy. Any of you got any questions would like to ask? There's a mic in front. Please come forward to ask the questions. Pandey, just now you mentioned about the Savakas during the time of the Buddha who attained the right view by just listening to the Dhamma. Today we are more fortunate, we got a lot of books, a lot of Dhamma books. So can one just live in seclusion and read the Dhamma books and also attain the right view and also attain the path of the Arya?
You can, provided the conditions are there. Namely, that you don't have the 5 hindrances obsessing your mind, and you will study the suttas. You can attain understanding. And when you attain understanding, the Buddha says you have fathomed the Dhamma, seen the Dhamma. That is stream entry.
Any more questions?
You find generally in the suttas, the Buddha asks lay disciples to memorize the suttas, listen to the Dhamma and memorize. He seldom asks them to meditate because meditation is very difficult. Meditation is like, for the Buddha's disciples, it's like a 24 hours a day thing. 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Pandey, did I hear correctly just now? Pandey mentioned about a person who attained the Sotapanna, has perfected his sila, but not his samadhi and his panya. So is it true that a person can become a Sotapanna by just perfecting his sila and need not perfect?
The most important thing for a person to become Sotapanna is understanding the suttas and the Dhamma. Because just now I mentioned one of the suttas, the Sotapanna is defined as one who knows and sees the Dhamma. But because he knows and sees the Dhamma, then he will take the trouble to keep sila. That sila is a later consequence. The first important condition is seeing and understanding the Dhamma, which is by hearing the Dhamma, namely the suttas.
The Sotapanna sees on dependent originations.
Can you talk louder? I couldn't hear.
Does a Sotapanna sees the dependent originations?
Oh yes, in the if you see in my book, Condition Arising or Suffering, it is said that he who sees the Dhamma sees dependent arising, and he who sees dependent arising sees the Dhamma. So if you don't understand condition arising or suffering, you don't understand the Dhamma, and vice versa. Say again?
Stream winner of conditions. Can you please speak into the mic? We are recording.
Stream winner, the Sotapanna.
Even the stream winner.
Stream winner also, because Venerable Ananda was said to be a stream winner when the Buddha was still alive. And in one of the suttas, it is mentioned that he told the Buddha, he said, although this dependent arising is deep, yet I see it as plain as can be. In other words, he says he understands dependent origination very clearly, and the Buddha said, don't say so, Ananda, don't say so. Dependent origination or dependent arising is profound, is deep. So what the Buddha is saying is that this right view, the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, is not the same for all the Aryans. The right view of a Sotapanna is not the right view of an Arahant. See? So he attains a shallow, the Sotapanna has attained a shallow right view, but the Arahant has perfect right view. So you see, in the Vinaya books, maybe not in the suttas, there are many things mentioned in the Vinaya books which are not in the suttas. It is said that the Buddha in one of the suttas mentioned that before he was enlightened, he considered the 12 links of dependent origination, and he saw that, he understood. Yeah. Now, in the Vinaya books, it is said that after the Buddha was enlightened, and then after some time, he contemplated dependent origination for 12 hours, the whole night, until he completely understood dependent origination. Because it is said the first 4 hours he contemplated the arising of suffering. Then the next 4 hours he contemplated the ceasing of suffering. Then the next 4 hours he contemplated arising and ceasing of suffering. So, to truly understand dependent origination like the Buddha, you need to use psychic power and see how beings are born and take rebirth again and again, and what causes them to be reborn again and again. So if you don't have the psychic powers also, you can understand, but not completely.
Just now you mentioned something on breaking the minor precepts. May I know what are the minor precepts you're referring to?
In fact, if you look into the monks' Vinaya, first you have the Patimokkha, the 227 precepts of a monk. Okay, and besides that, there are still other rules in the Vinaya books, not in the 227 precepts. So there are many rules for a monk and a nun. And it is stated that the heavy offences are the 4 parajikas and the 13 sanghadisesa. So all the rest is minor. In other words, there's a lot of minor precepts. For example, under the 227 precepts, it is said that a monk is not allowed to eat after noon and before dawn the next day. Yeah, this is one of the minor rules. Initially, the Buddha did not make this rule, and yet they will allow Arahants, and the Arahants could eat whenever they like, and they could go and beg for their food whenever they like. Even at night also, sometimes the monks used to beg for their food, some of them. So later the Buddha, as he gathered more and more disciples, then you get you get more rotten eggs. Then he start to make more and more precepts. So coming back to this rule where a monk is not allowed to eat afternoon, sometimes like I've heard like certain monasteries in Thailand, the monks they have to do building work. So for example, they are laying concrete, they have to finish laying concrete. So maybe by the time they finish, it's past noon already, maybe half an hour past noon or 1 hour past noon. But then the abbot allows them to eat because they couldn't eat earlier. Yeah. So in this case, you can relax the rule because you cannot be too attached. If you are too attached, you cannot become a Sotapanna also, because there's one factor called Sila Bhatta Paramasa, attachment to precepts and practices. If you hold on to that, cling to that, you cannot become a Sotapanna. So, for example, another one I just mentioned, when we started our monastery 17 years ago, we had no money. We had very little support. So, the monastery everywhere, the grass was about 3 feet tall. And then after a while, the surrounding land was given away to some people. And then they started to fell the trees to plant all palm and all that. Then the snakes started to come into our land. One day I saw a 10 feet python crossing the road into our land. So we have to cut the grass because the snakes are hiding in the grass. Yeah, even a king cobra started 6 feet. After 2 years, it grew up to 8 feet. You used to see the king cobra. So some people came to help in the monastery, do some work. But initially our land was 15 acres. A lot of work, Some of them, after staying a few days, they never came back. And one tough guy told me, he came initially, and then he found the work so tough, he didn't come back for another 3 years. After 3 years, he came back, then he told me, work so tough, he got frightened. So we had to do things like concreting the footpath, we had to cut the grass, because the snakes were everywhere. So a monk is not supposed to cut the grass. Lay people are supposed to cut the grass for the monk, but no lay people coming to help. And we got no money, so I have to do. So some people, they don't understand. They get very angry. This Bante hai đoàn lai bo siu kai.
Venerable Sir, can I please clarify, is our paying homage to the Buddha Rupa be counted as rites and rituals?
During the Buddha's time, there was no Buddha statue, Just now I mentioned the Buddha said the true Dhamma will last 500 years. So after 500 years, Buddha statues started to appear. First one in Gandhara. So people start to bow to Buddha statues and pray to Buddha statues for help and all that. That's why Chinese we say pai for. But pai for we know is wrong, should be swear for. We should study the Buddha's words, not pray to the Buddha. So in a way it's a ritual bowing to the Buddha. But because sometimes it becomes so common, if you don't do it, then people will be critical. Yeah. Like Western monks like Lumpo Sumedo, they got their training in Thailand. And in Thailand, the lay people expect you to take a broom and throw water at them. Yeah. He doesn't like to do it, also he has to do it. Because it's a tradition. Yeah. So like in our monastery, we don't have any Buddha statue to bow to. So I'm very happy that I don't have to do that. But I come here, everybody bows to the Buddha statue, I also have to bow.
Thank you, Bante, for your good speech. Now the thing is, I'm wondering, when we listen to the Dhamma alone, our mind does not stay still. So how are we going to progress? Isn't that going to Sotapanna that we have to have a very still mind, or?
Can you say that again? I didn't hear very well.
No, the thing is, when I listen to Dhamma alone, my mind cannot stay still. I mean, it cannot be calmed down. So when we go for meditation, maybe it helps a little bit. Yet it still wonder, does it to achieve the Sotapanna? Do our mind has to be very calm and stay still?
It is mentioned just now in the suttas that you need these two conditions for attaining right view. Is the voice of another teaching you the Dhamma, and yoniso manasikara, which is focused attention. Yeah. So you need to be able to focus your mind on what you are either listening or reading. So maybe if your mind is not so focused, you have to listen more often, more times. Then it will slowly penetrate. But if a person has a very sharp mind, he listens once, he might attain understanding and stream entry. So don't lose heart, just keep listening, keep investigating the suttas. Something will go in if you keep listening. Many years ago, after I became a monk, I gave Dhamma talks and I brought the CDs for my mother to listen. My mother is staying with my brother who is Catholic. So my sister played the CDs for my mother to listen. Few years later, I found when I talked to my brother, he talked about past life karma and all that. Then I know something went inside.
Bhante, just now Bhante mentioned that sometimes after listening to the Buddha's preaching, then the audience become the Aryans or Sotapanna. And then my question is, how do someone knows that he is a Sotapanna? Or maybe confirmed by his teacher or whatever like that?
That's a very good question. Just now, I mentioned in one sutta that the Buddha said after a person listens to the Dhamma, he practices seclusion. And there are two types of seclusion: seclusion of body and seclusion of mind. So when a person understands the Dhamma, he sees impermanence. It's a little bit like a person who's told by the doctor that he has cancer. 6 months more to live. When a person hears that he has cancer, he gets a shock. And then he knows he has very little time left. Yeah, so he got to make the best use of his time. So in the same way, if a person listens to the Dhamma and understands, as the sutta says, impermanence, and once you understand impermanence, then you know your time is very limited, and you got to make the best use of your time. Then you start to withdraw from society. There is withdrawal of body. And then you lose interest in spending hours watching the TV or whatever you used to spend your time doing, enjoying yourself, all that, you start losing interest. Instead, you devote your time to yourself, listening to the Dhamma and practicing meditation, keeping your sila, and trying to change your bad habits. In Chinese, we say 修行, 修行. A lot of people don't understand the meaning of 修行. They think it's just meditation. 修行is not meditation. 修行means 修行为. 修行是修行为. Cultivating your character, cultivating your mind, cultivating yourself. In other words, getting rid of your bad habits, your unwholesome states of mind, and developing wholesome states of mind. That's why sometimes in the suttas it is said one of the characteristics of a Sotapanna is that person is very generous. He's no more selfish like before. A normal person now will be very selfish. Only think about yourself only. But when you realize that all beings are like you, all beings have their own suffering, then you become more sympathetic, more generous to people. And then you also realize, like the Buddha said in the suttas, every person you meet is most probably related to you in the past. Otherwise you don't meet them in this world. There are how many billions of people? How many do you meet? You don't meet very many. Yeah? Those that you meet have been associated with you in the past life. So that is the most important characteristics of a Sotapanna, that he begins to withdraw from the world. Also, if that person really understands that Dhamma, then he starts to become very humble. There are some people, they say their teacher have certified that they are Sotapanna. They want to tell everybody that they are Sotapanna. That is definitely not the characteristic of a Sotapanna. Humility, one of the yardsticks of how well the person practices is humility. The more humble the person is, his cultivation is the better. Okay?
Okay, one more last question.
Venerable, from your understanding of human nature, at the present time, is it easy to be a Sotapanna?
At the present time, it's more difficult because we have a lot of things to enjoy. If you go to a poor country, like say Myanmar or Thailand, the Kampong area, those people are very simple people because they are poor. And then you find that they can meditate better than you. Here we got so much distractions. We have internet, we have email, everything. So every day our mind is distracted. But if you have the good karma from the past life, then you should be able to focus your mind. It's very important to be able to focus your mind, because when you listen to Dhamma, what you have to do is focus your attention on what you are reading or what you are hearing. If you can focus, then you can understand. Sometimes I find when I tell somebody something, then I find the person does something different, Then I know that person didn't really get what I was trying to tell that person. It shows that the mind is not focused.
Second question. In the world now, are there many Arya?
It is not difficult to find Sotapanna. A little bit more difficult to find Sakadagamin, but you still have, because first 3 jhanas is not so difficult to attain, but the 4th jhana is difficult to attain. So it's very difficult to find Anagamins and Arhants. But the trouble is nowadays, when you talk about jhana also, there are different jhanas. Depending on which jhana you are following, whether you are following the Buddha's jhana or some other jhana.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We are very grateful and thankful to our Venerable Dhamma for teaching us the Dhamma this evening. As dutiful followers of the Buddha, I would like to offer requisites to the Sangha. Those at the back, you are welcome, or you are invited to partake in this offer. You can come forward.
So we just invite the Devas and Devis to rejoice with us.